In the last stream, we were working on crafting all of the furnaces from the Iron Furnace mod, including the Rainbow Furnace here in the center, and now we are wirelessly transferring these lava eggs to each and every one of these furnaces using our importers and exporters from the BBL routers mod to ensure that all of these are running all of the time, because with all of the furnaces running all of the time, our rainbow furnace is capable of generating 50,000 redstone flux per tick, which of course is all being pumped up into this ultimate energy cube here. Right now, it's actually not running, and that's because we have, in fact, filled the Ultimate Energy Cube fairly quickly with 102 million FE, but we do now have the capability, if we need it, to produce 50,000 RF per tick, and that should solve our power problem for at least the near future. Now, between streams, I have gone ahead and done a little bit of base work to make our base bigger and to make it look a little bit nicer. I've made a new room on the far side, which is exactly the same dimensions as the room we have here for our rainbow furnace. Again, just using the RF Tools Builder to dig out some space and then placing down all of the large smooth stone tiles, the dark oak, and the curly borderless brick pillars, which we have right here. These, again, are just chiseled bricks. I have put more of these down, and I have also gone ahead and used some framed stairs as well to add a bit of depth to the roof. For those of you that do not know, the framed blocks mod here is pretty nifty and also super easy to use and really cheap to make as well. So you start by making these framed cubes. These are just sticks and planks. You can then craft these into really almost any shape that is in Minecraft. You can do fences, you can do slabs, you can do stairs, and then from there you can place these down like you would any regular block, the key upgrade being that you can then pick any texture that you have on a different block and use that to retexture the framed stairs, thus allowing us to really use any texture we like for our stairs, which is exactly what I've done. The roof here is made of the same cornered dark oak planks we have on the floor, and then we have some cornered dark oak plank stairs running all the way around, again, just to add a bit of depth to the base. So the plan now for today's stream is going to be to try and get into either applied energistics or refined storage. The starting process is the same for both of these. We have to get ourselves a circuit fabricator because in this pack, the recipe for the processes from applied energistics and from refined storage have been tweaked to require this circuit fabricator. To make the circuit fabricator, we first need to complete this quest at the top, which is the digital storage quest. It says to get started with digital storage, you'll want to first craft a flawless budding Certus Quartz block using the world engine. This is probably by far and away the easiest part of getting into digital storage, because all we have to do is head on through to the world engine, which should already be fully powered and ready to go. And if we throw in our block of amethyst, we should somewhat quickly get our first budding Certus Quartz. Now, with this, we could, if we wanted to, place it down, and it would very slowly but surely start to generate Certus Quartz, which we could then harvest and use to set up our AE2 or refined storage system. However, it's not going to do it particularly fast, and we are going to need a fairly large amount of Certus Quartz if we want to set up a half-decent applied energistics 2 or refined storage system. And so what we can do instead is we can look at trying to get a Certus Quartz chicken. To do this, we would need to get 4 sand, 4 flawless budding Certus Quartz, and then the tricky bit is 1 tier 5 chicken soul. So the flawless budding Certus Quartz is, of course, fairly straightforward. In fact, I think we could just head back up to the healing spring here to get more amethyst shards and then use those like we just did in the world engine to get more flawless budding Certus Quartz. But we then do need this tier 5 chicken soul. For this, we either have to place a tier 5 chicken into our soul extractor, or we have to combine 3 tier 3 chicken souls with a diamond block. Again, you can kind of run all the way back here. You can get a ton of tier 1 chickens and then kind of upcraft that with the world engine. But it turns out that our lava chicken is already a tier 2 chicken. And in fact, we can breed this lava chicken with a water chicken to get a tier 5 obsidian chicken. And so if we do that, we can then take our obsidian chicken, place it into the soul extractor that we have right here, and that will immediately get us the tier 5 chicken soul required to craft the Certus chicken, at which point we're just going to generate basically an infinite amount of Certus Quartz crystals, which we then don't have to worry about at all going forward. all of that to say that I think we're going to need to do a fair bit of chicken work today. And so I'm kind of thinking of using this room over here as our chicken room. I'm probably going to cut a hole in the wall, bring our chickens in, and start farming the chickens on a massive scale. Before I do, I will do a quick base update here. We have our smeltery kind of embedded into the hallway. We also have our enchantment table also now embedded into the hallway as well. Over on the other side, we have 2 more little gaps. I'm going to put our circuit fabricator into one of these, and then we have a spare spot right here for some more automation in the future. I do also want to take a minute here to kind of move some of the stuff that we have lying around, because as you'll see, currently we do still have our machines just haphazardly placed in the middle of the base, which is not ideal. I want to move that. Of course, I want to move the sugarcane and the cactus as well. They don't currently really fit where they are. We also do have a few problems around the base that I'd like to try and rectify. The first is that we have an unlimited amount of XP that is sitting on the ground here. Occasionally, I have been coming over and extracting more experience from our jumbo tank, which is completely full. That has been giving me more levels and has also kind of cleared up the XP, but it's not great because it means that I have to keep doing that manually, otherwise we're going to get a little bit laggy. The Twitch chat has pointed out that we can make the experience holder from just dire things, and this might be a better solution to our problem because apparently this can hold an unlimited amount of XP, and then we can just tap into that when we need it as opposed to leaving the XP on the floor. And so to make this, we need 1 emerald, 2 books, 1 ender pearl, and then 3 blaze gold ingots. And I think it's really just the blaze gold ingots that we're missing. We should be able to fairly easily make enough paper to get ourselves the 2 books required. And then from there, if we want to get 3 blaze gold ingots, we are going to have to upgrade our primogel goo. So the idea here is that we can take this and we can upgrade it to blaze bloom goo, which is the next tier up. There are a few more tiers after this. The next tier up is void shimmer goo, which isn't too difficult to make. We have already acquired echo shards and could get some more fairly easily. And then it is also possible that we could go back up to this nether fortress here, because we actually have 2 fortresses stacked on top of each other. There's the nether fortress, and then underneath that, there is a different fortress that does have some sculk. You'll see right at the bottom there that this is sculk, so we could head down here and try and sneakily harvest some of that. For now, though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and throw down the blaze bloom goo, because what we should be able to do is just place blocks of gold around that to allow us to craft some of those blaze gold ingots. Now, in order for that to work, we are going to have to feed the blaze bloom goo, just like we did with the primogel goo before it, and just like before, it does tell you what you can feed it. Nether wart works, and blaze powder also works. It just so happens we do have 8 nether wart, as well as 34 blocks of nether wart in our chest here, and so we can very easily feed the blaze bloom goo with the nether wart, and then from there we can place down our blocks of gold, and if we were being impatient, we could even use our temporal pouch, like so, to make this transform the gold just that little bit faster, at which point we should have some raw blaze gold, which we can then go ahead and smelt into the required blaze gold ingots to make that experience holder, and that should hopefully rectify that problem for us going forward. So let me grab both of these, let's quickly throw that into our emerald furnace, and just as soon as we have 3 of those, we can craft up the experience holder, and I'm hoping that we can just go ahead and place that down somewhere around here. In fact, I think we can kind of go ahead and stop this sending fluids entirely, and I think if we just put this down, let's say right about there, this should be able to harvest all of the experience. By default, if we click render area, you'll see the area rendered is not very big, but we can go ahead and increase the radius in the X and Z directions to make it much, much larger. And if we wanted to, we could even go ahead and offset it. Let's say down by 1 in the Y level, and then let's say in the negative X direction, like that. And then once it has that whole area covered, we can then go ahead and lower the tick speed as well. By default, it's set to once every 20 ticks, which is once every second. If we wanted to, we could lower that down to once every 1 tick, which means it's going to pick everything up 20 times a second. And then from there, we can just click the collect experience button, and that's going to go ahead and collect all of the experience that is generated and place it into this experience holder. And you'll see from there, we can then go ahead and click retrieve level, or we can click store level. So right now I have 100 levels. If I wanted to put those away for safekeeping, because let's say I don't trust myself to not die when we go and try and get some sculk, I could store all those levels in the experience holder and then just come and get those out as and when I need them, as opposed to having them on me at all times. Also, you can shift click to move 10 levels at a time, either in or out, and you can control click to either store all of the levels or take all of the levels out. So now we can go ahead and turn off the render area there. We don't need that showing at all times. We could go ahead and upgrade the Blaze Bloom goo one step further to the Void Shimmer goo. This is not strictly necessary right now, but it is going to help us out later on in the episode. And so real quick, what I think I am going to do is I'm going to put some stuff back into these chests here. I'm going to head on out back to our Nether Fortress, which we should be able to do almost instantaneously with our Nether Ring teleport here. And from there, what we need to do is we need to make our way over to kind of like this area here or this area here, really anywhere where there are dark spots, because those dark spots are where there is Sculk. Real quick, what I am going to do, I'm going to head back home and I'm going to make sure that we have a hoe. I think the Diamond All-in-One tool might be able to pick up the Sculk already, but just in case it can't, I'm going to take a hoe with me as a backup so that I don't get there and then realize I can't actually harvest it. And really, all we need to do here is make sure that we kind of don't get killed, which should just be a case of moving very quietly around the Warden. Now, we are going to need Silk Touch if we're going to actually harvest the Sculk, otherwise we just get more XP. I am going to go ahead, I guess, and take some of the levels out of here and kind of just see if we get Silk Touch. If we don't, which is somewhat likely, we can re-enchant a few times using the old grindstone method. So real quick, let me grab some lapis out of here. We are running into a problem where the sophisticated storage chest here isn't putting the lapis into the right slot. Some people have suggested that problem might be more of an Orotech pipe problem, so we might look to fix that later in the episode by replacing those pipes with something else. But temporarily, let me go ahead and throw my hoe into here with the lapis and see if we can't get any Silk Touch. We did get Silk Touch straight away. Fantastic. So let's head on out and see if we can't get some Sculk. So the Sculk Fortress is much lower down. You'll see here it's at kind of Y level 23. Again, right at the bottom there it says Y23, whereas we're currently at Y level 125. And so what I'm going to do here is kind of head down this way, making sure that we don't die in the process. And then we've kind of already started here by digging out a little bit of a staircase. I started off with my hammer, but then we can actually ultimine here in the deep slate, and so we're going to go all the way down until we hit Y level 23, and then once we hit Y level 23, we're then going to dig in a straight line forward until we come across, hopefully, this fortress right here. Okay, so this is the fortress. We've made it in. I do see some Sculk straight away, and so now it's just a case of remaining very quiet so that we don't end up spawning in any wardens, because that would not be great. We do only need 4, and we can ultimine this. So if we go back to Shapeless, we can do one of those, and then we can just really quickly do a quick home on the Tempad portal, and we're back. We've done it. Perfect. Okay, now that doesn't get us any Echo Shards. The Echo Shards are available in that fortress. I believe we can find them in the chest, but I think for our purposes here, we're going to do what we did last time, which is head on back through to the Echo of the Wayfinder and purchase our Echo Shard that way. Let's go ahead and buy one more of these Echo Shards for 25 coins. We do have over 1,000 of them now, so that's not going to be a problem for us. In fact, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just buy the second one here. You can duplicate these using enchanting, but it does require a level 70 enchant, and it requires 70 Eterna, 50 Quanta, and 50 Arcana, which we don't currently have. We could look at upgrading our bookshelves, but given that we only need 2 right now, and given that we have, or did have, over 1,000 coins, I do think that it probably makes the most sense for us to just buy the 2 Echo Shards, and then use those to upgrade our Blaze Bloom goo up to the next tier. Just for reference as well, all of the higher tiers of goo can do all of the same crafts as the previous tiers of goo, so we can still make the Blaze Gold using the Void Shimmer goo, so there's no reason not to just upgrade to the highest tier possible. So we'll go ahead and throw this guy down in the exact same space right about here, and going forward we can go ahead and use that with Ender Pearls to convert certain items into other items, which again is going to come in useful later on in the episode. Again, we do have a lot of diamonds here. This is one of the main reasons why I'm hoping to pivot over into either Applied Energistics or Refined Storage at some point in today's stream, so that we can stop having to deal with the sophisticated storage system putting stuff in the chests they shouldn't go into. But now that we have that taken care of, I am going to go ahead and first of all, move some stuff around. I'm going to probably embed my machines into one of these walls here, get them all connected up with the exporter and importer. I'm probably going to get rid of the simple coal generator that we have, both here and here, and just tap into the power being generated by our rainbow generator. And then we'll also move a few other things around as well, like our cactus and our Ars source setup as well, just so that things look that little bit nicer. And then on top of that, what I'll also probably do is look at setting up a bit of a space in this room to house our chickens. Okay, so I started moving things around, and I've embedded our Mekanism machines into the wall here. I've placed down some basic universal cable. I did try placing the importer directly onto the universal cable, but that doesn't work. So I don't think you can put the importer directly on the cable and have power flow through it. And so instead what we've done is thrown down another basic energy cube. The power is now going from our ultimate energy cube into the basic energy cube and then to all of our factories here. And what I want to do now is I want to cover up these universal cables, which I believe we should be able to do using these cable facades, which are kind of universal cable facades that we should be able to use to cover a lot of different pipes in the pack. To make them, we just need some red dye, some yellow dye, and some wool, which is why I've gone ahead and thrown down a little grass platform in our chicken room to allow us to get some yellow dye. However, it turns out you can also get yellow dye from sulfur, which we have a decent amount of. And so real quick, if we craft up some of these facades, which thankfully you do get in sets of 16, what we should then be able to do is we can craft these facades with, for example, these large smooth stone tiles. And then now we can right click these on like so to fully cover up those cables. They're still going to provide the power, but it just looks that little bit nicer embedded in the wall. Alright, so not too long later, we now have a little area for our chickens, and if we quickly let our questing ram out, we can pick up our chickens using the ender lead that we have and place them into our little penned area. I do see on my minimap that we have one more chicken right at the end of this corridor. Hello, my friend. And join your friend. Perfect. So we'll pick the questing ram back up for the time being, although we probably will need to use that lead again in a second. One thing we've not made yet that we should definitely look to make, though, is the chicken stick. The chicken stick here is from the Roost mod, and this is going to allow us to pick chickens up. So I do want to have some seeds with me. We do have a lot of wheat seeds ready to go. What we should be able to do now is breed these chickens to get a very large number of them. So what I'm hoping we can do is use our seeds to breed these two chickens together. That should give us a baby chicken. Perfect. And then, of course, we can use the wheat seeds here to decrease the time it takes for that baby chicken to grow into an adult chicken. And we do have over 1,500 wheat seeds, and so we really can go crazy on this. Now, there is a breeding cooldown time. You'll see it says breeding CD at the top there. It's 4 minutes and 42 seconds, although sometimes you can use the chicken stick to pick up a chicken and then replace that chicken down, and you'll see that that has reset the breeding timer. And so now we can breed these two chickens together again and get another baby chicken. And using this technique of feeding baby chickens with as many seeds as we can fit into them, and then re-picking up the chickens that we have already bred together, we should be able to get a staggering number of chickens very quickly. And a fair few chickens later, we should now be able to finally go back to what we were hoping to work on at the start of the episode, and that, of course, was the obsidian chicken. So to make the obsidian chicken, we have to breed together a water chicken and a lava chicken. Now, up until this point, we've actually not done any chicken breeding. To do that, we do have to get a chicken breeder, and to make the chicken breeder, we need a chicken stick, a roost, and a regular chicken. That should be pretty straightforward for us. Let's see if we don't have what it takes to make another roost here real quick. It is just 3 composters, which we can definitely make. That gets us a roost. We are going to have to make another chicken stick. That is also completely fine. I'll do that right now just so we have it ready to go. And then from there, we can now take our chicken breeder, place that down with our other chicken devices, and we just need to get the water chicken. The water chicken is made by crafting together 4 regular chickens, 4 water buckets, and a tier 1 chicken soul, which I'm hopeful we can get by soul extracting one of these. We totally can. Fantastic. And it's also pretty quick as well. And so now if we take that tier 1 chicken soul, that should be everything we need, of course, as soon as we get 4 buckets of water to make that water chicken. And so once again, using our pitcher plant, we can get 4 buckets of water. I am kind of still storing more stuff in my backpack. I'm going to clear the backpack out just as soon as we get a basic refined storage or applied energistics 2 system up and running, but we should now have everything we need for our water chicken. We are apparently just missing 2 more regular chickens, which of course we have ready and waiting for us over in our new chicken pen. 1, 2, I'll take a few more just in case we need them for crafting, because we might need those in just a second here. We are going to run into another problem now, though, and that problem is that if we want to breed together the water chicken and the lava chicken, we actually need to have a tier 4 chicken seed or higher. You'll see it says that tier 4 or higher required. To make the tier 4 chicken seed, it's a similar game that we played before with the tier 2 chicken seed. We need 4 tier 3 chicken seeds, and to make the tier 3 chicken seeds, we need the tier 2 chicken seeds, which we of course do already have backing up quite nicely inside of our garden cloche. We also need to get 2 diamonds, which we have, 2 clad glowstone, and then 1 chicken soul tier 3. For that, we're going to need 3 tier 2 chicken souls, which means we need 9 tier 1 chicken souls, which is 9 of our regular chickens placed into the soul extractor. And so real quick, I'm going to go ahead and obliterate 9 of our regular chickens. We might in fact have to get a few more than what we have already here, and then we'll take those through to the world engine with some clay. That will get us the 3 tier 2 chicken souls we need, and if we take a block of redstone with us as well, we can go immediately up to the tier 3 chicken soul, which is going to give us everything for our tier 3 chicken seed. We then do need to get a tier 4 chicken seed, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, because there are also other items that we're going to have to acquire before we can even think about making that tier 4 seed. Now, one other way that we can get more chickens here is we can just put the regular chickens into the chicken breeder with our tier 2 chicken seeds, and that is going to auto breed the chickens, and they come out kind of fully fledged as well. We don't have to pump seeds into them to get them to become adults. And the other benefit here, of course, is that we can use our temporal pouch like this to very rapidly get a large number of chickens, which I think is definitely going to be the easiest way for us to get a lot of these. And then, of course, once we have the 9, we can throw them into here. That's going to get us all of the tier 1 chicken souls. And that's also going to make it even easier for us to get the tier 4 chicken soul as well, because we just need to get 3 more tier 3 chicken souls. And of course, doing this should be the fastest way for us to do that, because we have so many chicken seeds ready to be used. And of course, over at the world engine, boom and boom, that's going to go ahead and hopefully fairly quickly get us what we need. Although I can't help but notice that I have taken away the power from this. And so real quick, let me get another one of these importers down. Let's quickly connect that up to our rainbow furnace. I've connected that up, but it's not very fast. I am fairly certain though that if we put multiple of these tier 2 RF upgrades into our exporter, that's going to increase the amount of power we can transfer. Right now, we can only do 240 FE per tick. If we do this, though, that should now be able to do just shy of 1,000 FE per tick. There are higher tier upgrades, but the higher tier upgrades require these Fortron infused ingots, which requires some Fortron inside of our world engine, which we don't currently have. And so I'm hoping for now that that is enough of an upgrade to allow more power into here, which should hopefully make this just that little bit faster. And not too long later, we now have our 4 tier 2 chicken souls. We did go ahead and make a new elite energy cube so that we can slowly buffer the power for the world engine, because even with the upgrades, the power really wasn't coming in fast enough to sustain some of the crafts. And real quick, if we do one of those, that should also go ahead and craft us the tier 3 chicken soul that we're going to need to make our tier 3 chicken seeds. So now the only thing we're missing is the clay glowstone, which we can make by alloying together, you guessed it, clay and glowstone. And for that, we can either use the alloy smelter from Ender.io, or we can use the alloy kiln from Immersive Engineering, or we could use the foundry from Orotech as well. I think we're going to go ahead and see if we can't craft up the alloy smelter from Ender.io and just slot it in next to our pre-existing Mekanism machines, because it doesn't look too difficult to make. To make it, we need 3 furnaces, which we definitely have the capabilities to make. We also need 2 iron gears, which we can also definitely make, just 4 iron each. Then we need a obsidian of any kind, and we need a void chassis. The void chassis does require 4 grains of infinity. In this pack, the grains of infinity are made by throwing gravel into fire. And so all we need to do is grab some gravel, which is easier said than done, but we can siphon it from here. And then if we grab a flint and steel, we should just be able to light a fire on the ground. I don't really think it matters too much where we light it. I'm going to somewhat dangerously light it on my wooden floor. And then from there, we get ourselves a half stack of grains of infinity. at which point we can then go ahead and craft up the machine chassis. And now we are just missing a single piece of obsidian in terms of making the alloy smelter. And one more quick use of the entropy manipulator later, we should now have everything we need for the alloy smelter, and we do still have some more universal cable, and somewhere in here we have more facades as well, so we should just be able to throw down our alloy smelter, throw down our universal cable, throw in some clay and some glowstone, and that's going to get us the cleared glowstone that we need in order to make the tier 3 chicken seed. Now, the Ender IO machines here do also need a capacitor in order to run. We are going to start with a regular old basic capacitor here, which is this one. It's made with 4 gold nuggets, 2 grains of infinity, and a copper ingot. All of that, again, very straightforward. You can make higher tier capacitors, which do allow the machine to run faster, but for the time being, that should get the job done. Again, with the facades, just right-click to throw those on. I'll keep those in my backpack for now for future use. That should be more than enough clear glowstone. And so now, in terms of making the tier 3 chicken seed, we actually have everything we need. And I think there's really no reason not to put the tier 3 chicken seed into the cloche, because we can, of course, still use the tier 3 chicken seed with the lower tier chickens. It's only the higher tier chickens that don't work with those seeds. So for now, I'm going to empty out our garden cloche of all of its tier 2 chicken seeds, and we're going to start growing those tier 3 chicken seeds. And this is one of those situations where we can actually look to using our void shimmer goo, because people have pointed out that what we can do here is we can use some of the dirt from Just Dire things to grow stuff a little bit faster inside of our garden cloche. Specifically, if we go to @dire and type in soil, there are 4 tiers of soil, starting with Primogel, moving up to Blaze Bloom, and then Void Shimmer and Shadow Pulse. And with our current setup, we should be able to get to Void Shimmer. To do that, we have to craft 2 dirt with a Celesti Gem Her. The Celesti Gem Her is 2 sticks and 2 Celesti Gems. The Celesti Gems are made by putting blocks of diamonds down around the Shadow Pulse goo. And so if we were to grab just 9 diamonds out of here, again, middle click to resort that because it keeps not sorting correctly, we can do one of these. We can place that down directly next to our Void Shimmer goo. We can take one of our ender pearls out of here. Again, middle mouse click to make that work as intended. And again, if we use our temporal pouch here, we should be able to accelerate the conversion of that block of diamond into a block of Celesti Gem. One thing I am going to do real quick, I am going to go ahead and enchant my all-in-one tool here. If we get Fortune on it, that would be useful. We can also, though, even if we don't get Fortune, I'm hoping for efficiency or unbreaking, just so we don't have to repair it as regularly. Those are not so good, but we can look at stripping those off and trying again in the future. What we can also do, though, is we can take our diamond reinforced impact hammer, and if you shift, you can break a single block at a time. That got us 3 Celesti Gems, which we can then use to make our Celesti Gem Her. And of course, from there, we can craft up some Void Shimmer soil, which should allow us to grow this faster than with the regular dirt. You can see the difference there. It's actually a pretty substantial increase in speed going from regular dirt to the Void Shimmer soil. And so even though we were already making the seeds fast enough, now we're making them just even faster, which gives us even more seeds to use for things like our breeder. So now we have to take these tier 3 seeds and of course upgrade them to tier 4. And this is where things get a little bit more tricky for us, because to do that, we do have to get a tier 4 chicken soul, which I think I'm going to do by just processing a ton more of these tier 1 chicken souls up through the tiers to tier 2, tier 3, and then to tier 4. We then also need 4 tier 3 chicken seeds with a black quartz and a mending neurogel. So black quartz, I think we should already have, because we get this when we brush soul sand, and we have, I think, brushed a fair bit of soul sand. Let me quickly check through my chests here to see if we don't have more than just the 1 at the top. We do indeed have more than just the 1, although to be fair, 1 really is all that we need. Now, the slightly trickier bit is going to be making the mending neurogel. So to make the mending neurogel, I'm trying to clear my inventory out, but we've got so much stuff in here that shouldn't be in here that it's kind of making it a little bit difficult for me to do that. But the mending neurogel is from the Cognition mod, and there is a questline at the bottom under Forgotten Technology called General Tech, and it starts with the Cognition Using Your Knowledge quest. It says Cognition is a mod that expands on the use, storage, and production of experience. To get started in the mod, there will be a few entry-level materials that will be easier to make once a few of the devices are set up. So we have to make Cognitive Flux, which is Nether Quartz, Lapis, and Soul Sand, and we have to make Astute Assembly, which is Redstone, Cognitive Alloy, and Cognitive Crystal. The Cognitive Alloy here is just made with cognitive amalgam and copper, and the cognitive amalgam is just cognitive flux smelted. So it's really all nether quartz, lapis, and soul sand. And then in here, the cognitive crystal, again, more of the same, but with an emerald instead of copper. And so we need to get a decent amount of cognitive flux. Once we have that cognitive flux, we then need to look at smelting some of that into the cognitive amalgam. So if I put those directly into there, that's going to get us some cognitive amalgam. And once we have 4 cognitive amalgam, we can combine that with an emerald from here. That's going to allow us to make our cognitive crystal. And then from there, we just need to combine that with 2 redstone and 6 cognitive alloy, which is even more cognitive amalgam with copper. So the question then, though, becomes, what is our limiting factor? Is it lapis, soul sand, or nether quartz? We do have a bit more nether quartz in our backpack here. That should allow us to make a fair bit more of the cognitive flux. It totally does. And then we do have some soul sand as well in our chest here. So if we needed to get even more nether quartz, we could look at brushing that. Real quick though, let me do one of these and one of these to get us even more cognitive amalgam. And then back over here, we need to get 6 of these cognitive alloys. That should be everything for the astute assembly, and that should be that first quest complete. It is. So now we need to make both an experience obelisk, which I'll bookmark, and we need to make a molecular metamorpher. The reason we're making this, by the way, is that the quest here for the molecular metamorpher gives us 8 of these blobs of mending neurogel, and you can craft the blobs of mending neurogel into mending neurogel, which is then what we need for the tier 4 chicken seed. So the reason we need the obelisk is that the obelisk is required in order to get the molecular metamorpher to work, and we need to make one of these transforming focuses in order to complete the quest, and this is made in the molecular metamorpher. And so real quick down here, if we want to make the experience obelisk, we are going to need another cognitive crystal, very doable, as well as 1 cognitive amalgam, 2 cognitive alloy, and an astute assembly, which we do already have. So if I take 2 more of these, I think that should be everything for the experience obelisk. It is. For now, I'm going to put that down right about here, and we can use this in a similar way to the experience holder. We can put experience into here. Cool. And then now, if we get ourselves the molecular metamorpher, which is another astute assembly, so we're going to have to make more of those ingots. We also need 3 more of these crystals, so we need just way more of the cognitive flux. Again, that should be pretty fine. Let me take more of the soul sand we have, and let me quickly brush that to see if we can't get a decent amount of nether quartz for all this. And a quick bit of brushing later, we're up to about a stack of nether quartz, which I think there should be more than enough, although to be fair, I probably shouldn't have sifted all of my soul sand, because now we might not have that much. Never mind, we totally do. There was no punishment there. Fantastic. Let me smelt a bunch of this down in the emerald furnace to get us all of the cognitive amalgam that we're going to need. So let's make 6 more ingots to get another one of the astute assembly. Of course, that requires another one of those. We've got a ton of emeralds. I'm not too worried at all about that. Fantastic. So now we need a smith table. That's very doable. Easiest part, I think. Then we need 3 of the crystals, which again, very doable. Let's do 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. And then finally, we just need the accelerator, which requires 1 of the crystals we just made. That is fine. We can make a fresh one. I think that's everything for the molecular metamorpher, which I'm going to go ahead and throw down over here near to our experience obelisk. And then now we need to take the staff of attunement, which we get as a quest reward for making the obelisk. And never mind, this is a completely optional quest. We did not need to make the obelisk because we don't actually need to use the metamorpher because it's already given us the blob of mending. We will come back to that mod, I'm sure, at some point in the future. For now, though, we have another item that we have to store somewhere, so I'll throw that into my backpack for the time being. I will craft up our mending neurogel, and so now we are just missing the tier 4 chicken soul, and so what I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take a bunch of these chicken souls, which we already have ready to go. I'm going to put another stack directly in there to get that going as well. I'm going to get a bunch of clay out of here, and we're going to go back to the world engine to make a ton of tier 2 chicken souls, which we're then going to upgrade to tier 3 chicken souls, which we're then going to upgrade to 1 tier 4 chicken soul. Okay, so I've made 3 tier 3 chicken souls. Thankfully, we did just get a bunch more black quartz from our sifting of the soul sand, so making some of these tier 4 chicken souls really shouldn't be too difficult. Real quick though, now if we head back, that should be everything that we need to make the tier 4 chicken seed. And again, I think there's really no reason not to fully replace the tier 3 chicken seeds inside of our cloche here, because the tier 4 seeds can do everything the tier 3 seeds can do, but better. And then now, finally, we have our tier 4 chicken seed. We can take our lava chicken and our water chicken, place those into the breeder, place in at least one of our tier 4 seeds, like so, and then potentially accelerate this to make it just that little bit faster. That gets us the obsidian chicken. Of course, we can get really as many obsidian chickens as we want now. And of course, we can now use this guy to get a tier 5 chicken soul, much better than the tier 1 chicken souls we've been using up until now. And that is going to allow us to craft up the Certus Quartz chicken. And so real quick, what I'm going to do now, finally, is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to head back to the healing spring to get some more amethyst. I'm going to use that amethyst at the world engine to make 3 more flawless budding Certus Quartz. And then we'll use that in combination with our tier 5 chicken soul to make our Certus Quartz chicken, which is then finally going to let us get started with digital storage. And there we go, 3 more flawless budding Certus Quartz crystals. So now we should be able to craft up our Certus Quartz chicken. We totally can. And we'll also go and claim that free chance cube, I guess, to use at some point in the future. I think we do already have one lying around in one of these chests here. We do indeed. We'll store those up. But now we can put the Certus Quartz chicken into our roost. You know what? Let's just go ahead and make another roost real quick because we want to keep that one for our power generation. The roost itself should be fairly straightforward. We need 3 more composters yet again. 1, 2, 3, and the roost. Fantastic. So if we throw that down, let's say right here for now, and we throw in our Certus Quartz chicken, and of course a bunch of tier 4 seeds. Never mind, of course, the Certus Quartz chicken is a tier 5 chicken, and so it does require, you guessed it, at least a tier 5 seed, which means that we do indeed need to make the next tier of seed up here. The tier 5 chicken souls are not going to be difficult. We can just use our obsidian chickens. We have a few of them in here. In fact, I'll take those out, and we'll put a couple in there to get some more tier 5 souls. On top of that, we need to get some dimensional shard gems, and we need to get a fluix pearl. So the dimensional shard gems we can get in 2 different ways. You can craft them with a diamond, an emerald, a gold, a glowstone, a redstone, an iron, a nether quartz, a prismarine shard, and a glass, or you can sift endstone to get them. The chat is right that if we go back to the very beginning of the pack, there is a quest line that tells us about the structure of the world. That being that we have a cobblestone ring, then a deep slate ring, then we do have a nether ring, and then eventually there is an end ring. So if we dig far enough out, we will find endstone. However, I do think that that's going to take quite a while. And honestly, the only thing we don't have here is a prismarine shard, which we can get if it's possible for us to make an atomic reconstructor, which I think by the looks of it, we can do. We need an iron casing, which is very straightforward, and that gets us the atomic reconstructor. We can place that down next to power. By default, it's going to zap automatically, and all we need to do is put a little bit of nether quartz down in front of it, and then when it zaps, it should convert that nether quartz into prismarine, which we can then use. I'm going to go ahead, and I'll leave that down actually. What I will do though, is I'll get a redstone torch, because if you right-click with a redstone torch onto this guy, it changes it from redstone mode deactivation to redstone mode pulse, which means now it's only going to zap and therefore consume power when we give it a redstone signal, like a lever or a button. So, back over here, can I make 2 of these? I totally can. I think that's well worth the investment. And then, never mind, we need 3. Let me get 1 more. Fantastic. So now we just need 1 fluix pearl. We could make this by getting another one of the flawless budding Certus Quartz blocks, harvesting the crystals and going through the process like that, but I'm being told by people in the Twitch chat that if we place down a charger from AE2 here, we can take one of our villagers. Right now we're doing the worker token duplication that we did right at the start of the pack, which allows us to turn 1 worker token into 2 with 32 bread. We can then place down our villager, and if we were to get a charger, which is just iron and copper, we could then potentially make this guy into an AE2 villager, who we can then hopefully trade with in order to get a fluix pearl. That is the hope anyway. Alright, so for whatever reason, the first villager just was not taking to the charger, but we've swapped him out for a second villager and then used the echo encoder to pick the first villager back up, and this guy is quite happy to be a fluix researcher, and so now I'm hopeful that we can just take some of our emeralds that we have tucked away in here and trade with this guy a couple of times to try and get some fluix pearls. So by default, he is selling just silicon presses, which we're not really gonna need, at least not just yet. I'll keep them around just in case we do need them. And then I don't know if it's gonna come up or not, but I'm really hopeful that as we level this guy up, we can hopefully get Fluix Pearls. We didn't get Fluix Pearls, but we have managed to get Fluix Crystals, which are going to be good enough here, because the Fluix Crystals with the Fluix Dust, which we get by crushing down Fluix Crystals, is everything that we need. It's just one Ender Pearl on top of that. And so all we need now is just a few more Emeralds, and we should be able to trade with this guy for 8 Fluix Crystals, assuming that he will give us 8 Fluix Crystals. Let's give it a go. He definitely will. I'll take a few more, actually, just because we can, and we have a lot of Emeralds, so I see no reason not to. And then, yeah, he doesn't actually sell the pearl, but that is completely fine. So now let's head on back and let's drop 4 of these immediately into the crusher. Let's clear out a bit more inventory space. And then once we have those, we should now finally have what we need to make the Fluix Pearl. And with the Fluix Pearl, that should be everything that we need to make the tier 5 chicken seed. All we need to do is we need to take our tier 5 chicken souls. And of course, we need to take at least 1 tier 4 chicken seed. We can then go again and upgrade to the tier 5 chicken seed. I'm going to start throwing these seeds away because we make them so fast. I really don't think it's worth keeping them. I'll make sure we keep at least 1. But I feel like the rest of these are just clogging up inventory space that does not need to be used up. And so now that we have the tier 5 chicken seeds, not only are they better than the tier 4 chicken seeds for everything else, we can actually finally start to make Certus Quartz crystals very, very quickly. Good. So now that we have those ready to go, we can finally look at the storage section of the quest book. There is a quest, of course, to get a Certus Quartz Crystal and to get a Certus Quartz Dust. Apparently, we've already had a Certus Quartz Dust. That is fine. We now have the Certus Quartz Crystal as well to go alongside that. And now we need to make the Circuit Fabricator in order to actually begin to make all of the parts from either Applied Energistics or Refined Storage. So, in order to do that, we need to get a Mysterious Cube, which I think we actually might already have. I do seem to recall us getting a Mysterious Cube as a quest reward earlier in the episode. We have a not-so-mysterious cube, which is not quite the same thing. The good news is we can buy this from the Echo of the Machinist for 15 coins, so that should be fine. We then need to get 3 Vibrant Quartz Glass, which you make by crafting glowstone with quartz glass, and quartz glass is just quartz dust and glass, just as the name would suggest. And so boom, and boom. We've got more than 3 Vibrant Quartz Glass. We then need to get 19 of this blue sheet metal, which you can make by crafting any sheet metal with blue dye. I think the easiest sheet metal for us to make is going to be iron sheet metal, which we can make with iron plates, which we can make either using our casting system. This is the more efficient way of doing it, but the faster way of doing it is going to be to craft using the engineer's hammer. This is much less efficient because it takes 3 iron per plate, but the caveat to that is that it's way faster than melting all the iron down and pulling it all out individually. And given that we don't really need that much, I feel like we might as well do something like this. And once we have at least 19 iron sheet metal, we can then, of course, craft it with the blue dye that we already have to make the blue sheet metal. Nice. Annoyingly, we are going to have to make one more set of that, actually, looking at it now, because we need to get at least 24 because of the way this is done. That is completely fine. Let me get exactly 4 more iron plates and 1 more batch of sheet metal and 1 more batch of blue sheet metal. And there we go. Now we have more than 24 of the blue sheet metal. So now all we need is the Circuit Fabricator, which is 2 pistons, 1 diamond, 1 copper plate, and 6 iron plates over in the world engine. Boom, 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 and boom. That is everything for the Circuit Fabricator. While that does its thing, let's quickly head on through to spawn, and let's quickly go visit the Machinist and buy a Mysterious Cube. Perfect. So now, if we go back to the world engine, we should have everything we need, finally, to make the Circuit Fabricator. I did not think it would take this long or be this much of a detour, but we have indeed managed to do it. And so now, next time, we should be able to start looking at getting into digital storage, which is going to make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier. So the way that you see how to build this is you place it down. Do bear in mind that once you've placed it down, this is unbreakable. As in, we can break it, but I'm being told that it will be destroyed if you break it, so you're going to have to make another one. Not that it's particularly expensive to make, to be fair, so we could move it if we wanted to, but the idea here is that you place it down, then you go into JEI, and you click on this right here. You'll see it says click to view required structure. If you click on that, it will then go ahead and put the outline down, and so for us, all we need to do is take our blue sheet metal and do something like this, kind of putting it down around the outside edges, and then the inside edges are filled in with the glass, and then it looks like right in the center is where that Mysterious Cube is going to go. So let me put down our first piece of glass right about there, and then throw down the mysterious cube in the middle. We'll put down the other glass on this side. We'll put down the other glass on the back. That's all 3 bits of glass. And so now the rest is just filling out the frame with even more of the sheet metal. And I believe that now we have a circuit fabricator that is capable of making some of the circuits from either refined storage or applied energistics. Both of those should now be doable, and they do have to be made inside of the circuit fabricator. I believe both stages of the process, yes, do indeed have to be made inside of the circuit fabricator. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get another importer. We're going to place that down on the top there to begin providing that with power. And now that that has power, albeit slowly is getting power, we can go ahead and, of course, use that to make these processes just as a test. If I take some gold, for example, out of here, I believe we can whack a gold in and that will make a gold processor for us. The quest book does say that this can be fitted out with a lot of acceleration cards, specifically up to 10 acceleration cards to make it much, much faster, albeit at a cost of much, much more power, which isn't necessarily going to be a problem for us because, of course, we do have 50,000 redstone flux per tick to play with. The tricky bit for us might be getting that much power over here fast enough because right now the importer is the bottleneck. We could maybe look at running a cable over to here or look at getting those higher tier energy upgrades so that we can transfer even more power with those routers, but that is a problem for future Isaac. Next time we'll come back and we will look at getting started with digital storage so that we can actually go ahead and get rid of all of these chests here, condense everything down, and we'll probably also look at getting some wireless storage as well. We will continue to look at getting more chickens as we go as well. I think as we progress to the end of this pack, as things maybe get a little bit more grindy, we're going to need large amounts of resources. And even though it's taken a while today, I think having these tier 5 seeds has put us in a good spot for all of that future resource production. But again, that is a problem for future Isaac. For now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of StoneBlock 4 there.